Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Nick, and welcome back to the 90s Guy channel. Today's going to be a little bit of a different video. I've done toy reviews, I've done talking about things that I've picked up, mail calls, movies that I've got. Today is a little bit different. I wanted to talk about how I became a professional wrestling fan. So, it all started in 1989. I was about 4 years old, and I walked into the living room of my parents' home, and my brother, who is about 4 or 5 years older than me, was sitting in the living room watching TV. And I had no idea what he was watching. And I walked in, and sure enough, I saw this big blue like square object thing, and I've seen all these colorful people running around, people cheering, and I was like, what is this? So I asked my brother, I said, hey, what are you watching? He goes, oh, I'm watching WWF wrestling. And I said, oh, can I sit down with you? And he goes, yeah. So I sat down next to him on, like one of those little yellow plastic little tyke chairs and watched it with him. And we were watching Saturday night's main event. And Hulk Hogan and Big Boss Man was, obviously the highlight of that show, fighting in the steel cage. But the amount of just the colors and the music and the excitement, it just sucked me in. And I'm like, this is awesome. Well, apparently my brother had been watching for a while, and I became a wrestling fan. I asked my mom and dad if we could get, some of the wrestling tapes at the rental store. My brother had a handful of the LJNs. I picked some up, at garage sales, got them for birthday presents. And I remember going to an auction with my grandparents, and there was this like really huge box of toys. And it was like Ninja Turtles and He-Man and a bunch of different stuff. And they're like, hey, do you want us to bid on that for you? And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really great. Thanks. I was so excited because it had some wrestlers in there, and I didn't know what they were, but I knew they were wrestling figures. Turns out that they were Remcos, the AWA Remcos, and then also some of the Sun Gold wrestlers, the knockoff, type Remco style. And I believe there was also like a handful of, like the rubber, the LJNs, and, there's a bunch of different stuff in it. And then, of course, I got Hasbro's later on, for birthdays and things, and stop at Toys R Us. And I don't remember having any wrestling shirts. I think I had a Hulk Hogan shirt, but that was about it. But we had the toys. We were, pay-per-views were still expensive, so, we watched them, from the rental stores, the little place down the road called Old Town Video. It was a mom and pop, type video store. But then, it kind of morphed into, I'd watch, Superstars on TV. I think I remember also catching like Tuesday Night Titans, where, Vince McMahon would interview different wrestlers and stuff. Picked up some of the magazines. My brother was a big fan of Mr. T and A-Team. And of course, Mr. T was a part of WrestleMania 1. So that was a huge deal. I didn't start going to like the actual live shows until the mid 90s. They would come around to some of the local arenas. And then, I had a handful of the Just Toys Bend-Ems. Still was watching wrestling. Met a friend of mine at the time. We were real big into wrestling. We'd play fight on the trampoline and buy the magazines. Watch Monday Night Raw, when it came out in 93. Was still a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. Got a bunch of the BCAs, the Bone Crunchers. We would go to, Toys R Us, Children's Palace, KB Toys. They weren't real expensive. I think they were like maybe $6, $7. They weren't real expensive. So, your parents would, buy you a handful of them. I had Farouk, Bret Hart, Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, and then like from there, just kind of took off from there. I still have all my original figures. As you can see in the background, I have tons of figures carded. I've got a lot of my favorites carded, which have a lot of the original store stickers on, which is really cool to have. And then I had a handful of friends in grade school that, were into wrestling, and we would watch it together, talk about it the next day at school. We would wrestle on the trampoline and, act like we were coming out to entrance music, and it was a lot of fun. And then probably around when I was leaving grade school, going into high school, so, roughly about, 2001, it was kind of a shock. Wrestling became uncool in my friends' eyes. It was, we're interested in impressing girls, and they may not like wrestling. Wrestling's goofy and fake, and, anybody that liked it, was made fun of. I didn't really care. I still enjoyed it. I still watched it and talked about it. A lot of my friends, unfortunately, would join in with a lot of the other unkind people, and they would make fun of me too, which was, whatever. Still into the figures, still buying the magazines, still watching Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, getting the pay-per-views, and then, once I transferred to another high school closer to me, I met a lot of like-minded friends who were okay with being themselves. They were like, hey, if you like wrestling, good for you. If you don't, it was a lot different environment, and, you could be interested in whatever you wanted. Nobody cared. So that was a plus. Ruthless Aggression era, still collected. Bought so many figures. So, if you've watched the tour videos and some of the, small videos I've shot of the room, this was not, a handful of years worth of collecting. I've literally been collecting for, a little bit close to over 30 years. And, between the Bend-Ems, the Mattels, the Jakks, Hasbros, LJN, Rimcos, WCW Toy Biz, any figure, any company, I wouldn't call it an addiction because it's not unhealthy. Like, do I continuously do it? Yeah. Wrestling to me has always been an escape from the world. It's always been that friend that never left. It helped me through disappointments in life, breakups with girlfriends, tragedies in life, anxiety, depression. It has allowed me to meet a lot of really good people. I go to a lot of different conventions, meet a lot of really good people. I get to meet some of these people that I grew up watching, and it's amazing to me that, the community is much different now than what it was before. I will tell you that. After that, the Ruthless Aggression era going into, the late 2000s, I was still a fan. It became more acceptable in society to be a fan. I mean, you still had people that were rude and would say, snide remarks, but it was whatever. And especially the toy aspect, I was thinking, I lived in my own place, and I kept thinking, is a woman going to be repulsed by, walking into a man's house and seeing toys? A lot of my friends quit collecting toys many years ago. I've always been a professional wrestling fan. I've always collected toys, not just wrestling. I still have He-Man and Power Rangers and TMNT, and I don't really collect any of those anymore. I still have all my original ones in boxes and stuff. But, like I said, I mostly only collect wrestling, movies, some vintage other things, but not very much. Now especially you have, the ability to watch AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. Growing up, I had WCW, ECW, WWF, and then you also had, the local promotions. AWA would still air on ESPN, and I would also catch World Class on ESPN that they would air, the Von Erichs company. Now, obviously, it had been, done for a while before that, but I got a hold of every VHS tape, pay-per-view, documentary, anything I can get a hold of, book, magazine, and I still do. I've been told by many people that I'm like a walking encyclopedia of wrestling knowledge, and I by far do not know everything. I don't know everything. I do know a lot. I constantly am learning new things every single day. So here I am, 37 years old, still a wrestling fan, still collecting figures. There's so many different companies that you can collect for now. I still buy vintage ones from when I was younger. I still get new ones from Mattel, Jazzwares with AEW. Collecting not just figures, but like I've got props, cards. I've got, let's see here. See if I can show you something. I've even got, weird stuff like this, a statue of Freddie Blassie with a sombrero. These were some weird statues that came out. I have no idea. These did not take off very well at all. I've got autograph items like this. The pint-sized brawler Sabu. Check that out. I collect the new stuff like the Ultimates. Hulk Hogan. Even championship belts. I have a whole cabinet over there, detolf of belts. Autographs. I mean, anything I can get my hands on, pretty much. How I think of it is this. As long as you're a responsible person, you pay your bills, you do your job, you do things in life that require you to be an adult. I see nothing wrong with collecting things. It's one of those things where if it's not hurting anyone and it's not hindering your ability to be a productive member of society, I see nothing wrong with it. I'm going to be doing a podcast coming up to kind of go in more depth on this. But, I just kind of wanted to come on here, do a little, brief video. I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel, watching the videos, leaving comments. Make sure you like that video. That helps the algorithm of YouTube. If you like this video and want to see more, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell icon to make sure that you'll get notified for every video I do. I'm working on some stuff right now on restarting the podcast. doing more videos, more reviews, things like that. To be completely honest with you, sometimes it's hard to come in the studio and film. For those who know, if you have anxiety and depression, sometimes it's just hard to do things. After being at work all day and you come home and you do your normal responsibilities, sometimes you just want to go down, go lay down and rest and, have dinner and things like that. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later.